The following is produced by 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content and is sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.
It's ironic. Our own national defense programs may pose a more serious threat to Americans than any foreign enemy. Why? Because the Pentagon accounts for nearly twice as much hazardous waste as the top 3 industrial waste producers combined. Maybe it's time our defense strategy includes declaring war on this pollution. Hello, I'm Ed Begley Jr., and this is today's Environment. Coming to you from Japan, in the World Showcase at Epcot at the Walt Disney World Resort near Orlando, Florida, where we're taking an in-depth look at some of the answers to today's environmental challenges. One of the worst things about the 1,500 pounds of garbage the average American generates each year is that probably half of it isn't even trash at all. Many of today's disposable products are actually recyclable products. And here's one good example.
It's voracious. It's ravenous. It's insatiable. The modern office. It devours enough paper every year to build a 12-foot high wall from the Empire State Building to the Hollywood Bowl. And what's written on this wall of paper consumes over 36 million laser toner cartridges every single year. While paper often gets a new life from recycling, about 20 million empty toner cartridges pile up in landfills across the nation. It's a foolish waste of good resources because these spent cartridges can be refilled, recycled, and reused. Some printer supplies manufacturers, like Data Products, actively seek out used laser toner cartridges for recycling. They know that these so-called disposable cartridges are actually a well-manufactured system of complex, durable, and reusable parts. Stuffing landfills with perfectly good products benefits no one. In fact, you could be throwing money away by trashing your spent cartridges because these remanufacturers will buy them back from you. At this laser toner cartridge remanufacturing facility, all incoming cartridges get tested before they go into the disassembly line. Then a high-tech vacuum removes all residual toner and prevents the dust from getting into the air or fouling the recycled parts. The cartridges get disassembled, and many components are ultrasonically cleaned in an environmentally safe water solution. After precise reassembly to the appropriate specifications, new toner recharges the cartridge. Sources at Data Products say that keeping the quality and reliability of the remanufactured cartridges as good as the new ones remains the essential key to the growth of the market for this recycled product. Their quality system, certified to the ISO 9001 designation, helps convince wary customers that the reprocessed product will perform to new cartridge standards. Several innovative strategies help make it easier for their customers to recycle the spent cartridges. A postage-paid return coupon in every box makes sending back the used product relatively easy and convenient. Central collection points in offices and even retail stores add other options to divert the cartridges from landfills. Every day, millions of words, charts, graphs, and illustrations enrich our world with more potent communication. And if we can prevent the supplies that fuel the flow of this information from choking our landfills, our printouts will document the restoration of the planet.
If you like to sing in the shower, try a jingle, not an opera. A standard shower head uses about 7 gallons a minute. Less time in the shower saves on the hot water bill and leaves more water for everyone. Get involved with today's environment today.
Rain, rain, go away. Whoever wrote that poem may have been a clairvoyant. Each year, acid rain causes nearly 50,000 deaths. That makes simple spring showers more deadly than the fiercest hurricane. But this next innovation might help change that.
It's good, it's bad, and it's ugly. Ozone. In the stratosphere, it protects the Earth from cancer-causing ultraviolet radiation.
But at ground level, it becomes one of the major components of the air pollution we call smog. Earthbound ozone comes from combustion emissions, especially nitrogen compounds called NOx.
58% of Americans live in areas where the air does not meet the standards of the 1970 Clean Air Act. But without combustion, our modern society would grind to a screeching halt. Many people look to science for an answer, and part of the solution may be found in systems developed by fuel and combustion technology and Australia's Adelaide Brighton and Adelaide University. They try to help companies burn cleaner by burning better, and through innovative modeling techniques, they often accomplish that goal without even striking a match. Using a scaled-down model of the kiln or furnace, engineers experiment with design modifications that will maximize fuel efficiency and minimize NOx and carbon emissions. To make a fire, you simply need to ignite a combination of fuel and air. But a fire with the lowest emissions requires a proper mixture of the two. One modeling technique incorporates the features of the specific plant and mimics the actual combustion reaction. By pumping acid down the fuel line and an alkaline liquid through the airstream, the resulting red reaction simulates the exact flame that would be created by altering the variables. The optimum plant modifications can be designed in the lab without ever stopping production.
Another system they devised to burn better and reduce NOx emissions may be found in the gyrotherm burner.
This natural gas combustion system can dramatically reduce fuel consumption and the resulting air pollution. The gyrotherm burner mixes the natural gas with the air by using a gyroscopic or circular jet of fuel that rotates around the axis of the burner nozzle. Engineers at Fuel and Combustion Technologies note that this rotation creates a fuel-rich, oxygen-deficient environment at the front of the flame, which reverses as the flame burns out completely.
The gyrotherm burner will reduce nitrous oxide emissions anywhere between 40 and 70%, and at the same time will reduce fuel consumption by as much as 10%. When you consider the American fuel bill exceeds $40 billion, any small improvement in fuel efficiency can result in substantial savings.
In the eyes of the environment, all flames are not created equal. Some pollute more than others. But if we can create the technology to burn better, we may be able to help our fossil fuels last longer and our environment last forever. In a moment, new clothing insulation may help the problem of landfill overcrowding. Plus, soil and groundwater battle pollution with cutting-edge technology.
Many of our raw materials these days are mined right out of the landfills: bottles, cans, plastic, and paper. Recycled, they can become valuable resources for new products. Here's an example.
This growing mountain of plastic could put future landfill prospects into the valley of despair. Every year, Americans gulp their way through over 5 billion plastic bottles and drain the nation's landfills of their already dwindling vacancies. Many researchers, engineers, and inventors hope to reverse this trend and find new uses for old plastic bottles. This Ecotherm clothing insulation, developed by Schuler International, may help solve the problem of landfill overcrowding. Made from a minimum of 50% recycled plastic soda bottles, this high-quality product responds to the environmental convictions of corporations and outdoor enthusiasts alike. But more importantly, this recycled apparel insulation provides excellent thermal protection in cold weather, clothing, boots, and gloves. Having produced high-performance insulations for over 100 years, this company has taken this expertise and created a unique, new, patented technology that can process the recycled plastic containers into tiny microfibers many times thinner than a human hair. These recycled microfibers are then blended with other fibers to create a soft, high-performance insulation that maximizes warmth in minimum temperatures. When it's cold, we lose heat in 3 different ways. Convection replaces the lighter, warm air around our bodies with heavy, cold air. Radiant heat from our body permeates through most fabrics. Conduction creates a heat exchange between our warm body and any cold surface it may be in contact with. Schuler uses the ultra-thin microfibers to create Ecotherm, a unique insulation that effectively obstructs the thermal exchange. This recycled microfiber insulation traps body heat inside the clothing and blocks the cold out. It reduces heat loss caused by all three mechanisms. But how does this rigid plastic bottle become this soft, supple fabric? After the bottles get collected at the recycling center, they go to an industrial grinder that chops them into tiny plastic flakes that are then thoroughly cleaned. These flakes are melted in an extruder and formed into pellets. The pellets are remelted and reformed into tiny microfibers 20 times thinner than a human hair. A card then blends the recycled microfibers with some other fibers to form Ecotherm apparel insulation. Playing in the snow should not be a battle with the elements. A thermal insulation that offers another recycling option for the billions of plastic beverage containers we drain each year can ward off the chill of winter and help bring our environment in from the cold.
Batteries use mercury. And guess what happens when it gets to the landfill? It just keeps going and going until it reaches the groundwater. Recycle your batteries or use rechargeables, and we'll all get a charge out of it. Get involved with today's environment today.
The ability to think and reason, it separates humans from many other species. And in America, our national labs house some of the most innovative thinkers in the world. Recently, their role has grown from national defense to protection of the planet. Here's an example.
Into the wild blue yonder. A few years ago, that may have seemed like the direction our environment was headed in. While military bases focused on winning the Cold War, their operations battered the environment on land, on sea, and in the air. Fortunately, since the Cold War ended, a new war against pollution has been declared. And at the front line stand many of our national laboratories. This researcher from the Armstrong Laboratory Environics Directorate is working to develop cutting-edge technology for cleaning up soil and groundwater and to prevent future pollution. Advanced bioremediation technology like bioventing can restore a site contaminated from jet fuel, diesel, oil, or other organic hydrocarbon compounds. Bioventing stimulates natural microbes in the soil by injecting needed oxygen and nutrients. This multiplies the bacteria and helps them thrive while they degrade the hydrocarbon pollutants. Continued research to develop microbes that can biodegrade more persistent inorganic contaminants may make bioremediation an option against chemicals like chlorinated aromatics. In one innovative bioreactor, newly developed microorganisms degrade the effluent and allow the very expensive ammonium perchlorate used in rocket engines to be reclaimed and resold. Characterizing a contaminated site quickly and accurately can greatly enhance the remediation effort's success. Devices like this rapid optical screening tool use a tunable laser spectrometer to instantly identify contaminants at each depth below the surface. Advancing technology to clean up past mistakes is only one role of the environmental laboratory. Environmental compliance for now and the future also takes top priority. This spray casting technique can replace electroplating of aircraft parts. Ion vapor deposition of aluminum as a substitute for cadmium, and technology to rejuvenate electroless nickel plating baths greatly reduces economically and environmentally costly hazardous waste streams.
Tyndall, we start by asking how well the environment can cleanse itself, and then we look for biological, chemical, or physical ways to enhance that activity. It helps speed the cleanup without doing damage to the environment. We're also discovering new processes and designing new technologies to prevent pollutants from reaching the environment in the first place. And since the private sector faces many of the same environmental problems, virtually all our technologies are highly transferable.
The invaders in today's critical battle come from within. Those pollutants we generate could threaten the health and well-being of everyone on the planet. But if we apply our most potent weapon, the human mind, to create new environmental technologies, we can reclaim our soil, air, and water, and protect our planet as time marches on. Zero dumping, an environmental affair to remember aboard the Love Boats, and modern printers practice source reduction. Next on Today's Environment.
Talk about a nightmare. A ship of fools can destroy our sea of dreams. Oceans cover 2/3 of our planet, and people treat them like bottomless landfills. An estimated 14 billion pounds of trash are dumped into our seas each year. But this next idea may help.
The Big Blue. Mile after endless mile of swells, currents, and ever-distant horizon, the Earth's 4 oceans affect our climate, our weather, and our food supply. They provide the habitat for millions of plant and animal species. Too often, however, people use them as a dumping ground. The sheer enormity and isolation of the ocean can make one ship's trash seem insignificant, but it's not. Man's waste frequently kills marine life and fouls our shores.
But this ship, operated by Princess Cruises, belongs to a fleet that practices a zero dumping policy. Their environmentally concerned management refuses to allow their luxury liners to become environmental destroyers.
And even though some ocean dumping is legal, they just said no. Absolutely zero garbage will be dumped at sea. The passengers aboard this love boat expect to be pampered in the lap of luxury. On a typical 7-day cruise, they'll consume about 1.5 tons of cheese, 5.5 tons of meat, 500 bottles of champagne, 3,000 cans of beer, and much, much more. It all adds up to a great time and an enormous amount of solid waste. But none of that waste leaves the ship while at sea. After initial separation at the source, it goes to a deck far below the showrooms, the restaurants, and casinos.
This onboard waste area provides an important step in the ship's solid waste management program, which required a multi-million-dollar investment in technology and training to ensure that anything recyclable gets shredded, crushed, or densified.
Even food waste is ground, processed, and made into food for fish. The remaining waste stays in storage until it can be landed ashore. Since plastic remains one of the most harmful substances to a marine environment, they also launched a plastics minimization program and substituted many plastic products with paper or wooden ones. And the traditional balloon release upon a ship's departure, well, it's now a thing of the past.
We realize that much of the quality of a passenger's cruise experience depends on the beauty of the oceans they sail upon. We therefore invested heavily in the state-of-the-art environmental technology and crew training to ensure our policies and procedures surpass those required by law. And we even created a senior management position for an environmental expert to help monitor and improve our environmental performance.
Earlier this year, the Center for Marine Conservation praised Princess Cruises' program, calling it undoubtedly the best waste management program in the business. A fleet can sail the seas without soiling the oceans, and if all the ships followed the example of these love boats, well, the romance of the voyage would be an environmental affair.
The written word, whether it's Shakespeare or a cereal box, it all needs to be printed, and that process can have a major impact on our environment. This next segment explores how things like the right ink might help keep our planet green.
It may have started with cave drawings. Now, printed words bombard us every minute of every day. They identify products, give us information, and can inspire us to think. But printed communication can demand a heavy toll from our environment. A modern printing plant can have a significant impact on air and water pollution and solid waste. Some printers and suppliers, like the members of the Flexographic Technical Association, understand that their operations can contribute to a better environment. Source reduction, or changing processes to significantly reduce creation of wastes, appears to be the most promising way to lighten their load on the planet. Since flexographic printing can transfer an image to almost any type of material, including paper, plastic film, foil, or fabric, it has emerged as today's fastest-growing printing process, with many opportunities to make a positive impact on the Earth. Ink stands out as one important area to address. Some of them contain volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, in their base. In response, many facilities have installed catalytic oxidizers or other emission control equipment to destroy the VOCs in their exhaust gas. Printing components covered with solvent-based inks must be cleaned with other solvents that also contain VOCs. This produces a liquid hazardous waste stream that must be handled according to regulations. Very often, the spent solvents can be reclaimed or used as fuel. The increasing conversion to water-based inks, or UV-curable ones, however, may be an alternative solution. Since these inks contain only a small amount of volatile organic compounds, the emission problem is dramatically reduced, and tap water can be used to clean the printing units without generating hazardous waste. Officials at the Flexographic Technical Association also point to another major ecological benefit of their printing process. The flexographic technology allows the image to be printed onto a thinner material without lessening the functionality of the finished product. This innovation could translate to enormous savings in paper and plastic for product packaging and labeling, even newspapers, and eventually lead to a lighter solid waste stream. The simplified design of the press and inking system also helps to reduce waste generated when setting up a print run. From diapers to Dickens, we rely on the printed word for everything from product identification to idea generation. And if the printing process can help improve our treatment of the planet, well then every word will help make a statement for a better environment.
Americans are doing more than their fair share in contributing to the potential problem of global warming. The worldwide per capita release of carbon dioxide averages about 4 tons a year, but Americans average over 20 tons each, 5 times more than everyone else. Just driving a little less, we all could be doing the world a big favor. I hope this show, broadcast from the World Showcase in Epcot at Walt Disney World Resort, has given you some good ideas. Join us next time as we explore more environmental solutions on today's environment.
Epcot 95 is located at the Walt Disney World Resort near Orlando, Florida. If you know of any interesting environmental success stories, call us at 407-997-9800. The preceding program was sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care. This has been a presentation of 5 Star Productions USA.